Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us on my YouTube channel. If you can, please subscribe to my channel. That's what helps me keep these classes free. The more subscribers we have, the more followers we have. So please, if you just have a second, please just subscribe to our channel and like our video. It really does go a long way. So I am going to teach you guys how to paint a dogwood branch on a tree. I have this piece right here that I'm going to do a small dogwood branch right here. You can paint this on anything you want. If you wanted to paint this on a canvas, we also have a short class on how to blend colors. So if you wanted to have a background like a sky, we have a video on that as well on our YouTube channel. So you can watch that one first. If you are doing it on something like this and you do like the way this is set up, you like the wording on this, or you have another saying that you would like that would fit along with this, we do sell these on our website. Like I said, we can also do custom, so you could message us and we can make one specifically for you. And then we can ship it to you, so you can paint on that as well. We can do that for almost all of our pieces. So now that that is said, we're going to start with the painting process. So the first thing I usually do is I always like to kind of draw it out. So I either will use a pencil or I'll use chalk. If I'm painting on slate, that's where I really like to use a chalk because a pencil is hard to see, and for wood, I like to use a pencil. So if you are a beginner at this, drawing isn't as hard as you might think. A lot of times it is just lines, and people always forget that there are erasers on their pencils. So one of the biggest things I always say is don't be worried. You could always erase it. Try to draw a light line so it's easier to erase. And if you don't like it, you can do it again over and over again until you get it the way you like it. So I'm going to teach you how to do this. And like I said, take a deep breath and enjoy this process because painting is meant to be fun. Okay, so now I'm going to start, and I have 4 of these to do. So I might be switching in and out, or I might be pausing it and working on the other ones. But when it comes to painting, even if you try to copy the same painting over and over again, it's physically impossible to get it to be identical. It will always be different, which is nice because then all of your pieces are technically one of a kind, even if you try to replicate it. So each of these are going to be slightly different. So if yours looks a little bit different than mine, that's perfectly okay. That means you did it right. If it does look just like mine, you didn't make it your own. And it's almost, like I said, it's almost impossible to do that. So when it comes to branches, always try to think of what you see outside on a tree. The thicker part of the branch is closer to the tree. It's always thicker, and then the branches go skinnier. So you always want to go thicker here and skinny here. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to have it come all the way down. And when it comes to branches, I always like to say, I always do a Y effect, because if you keep doing Ys, it does end up looking like branches. So I'll show you that in 1 second. So I'm going to have the bigger branch. We're going to have it come down here. So now you can see here's one branch. And see how that kind of looks like a Y? That's what I mean. So we're going to take another one and we'll have it come out here. We're going to have another one. We'll have it come right down here. Okay. So I might have one up here. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just have this come down like this a little bit more, so it's more of an angle. I might get rid of this right here. Okay. So now I want to go and paint the flowers. So when it comes to flowers, they are almost like the shape of hearts, just a little bit oblong. So when we do it, we're going to do one. We're going to draw the centerpiece. Now, I'm a spinner, so I apologize if I'm spinning, but we're almost going to draw a heart. And we're going to do that again. I'll probably have it look a little bit different. Now this one coming down, I'm going to have it kind of curved a little bit. So we're going to make it almost like an oval. Like that. But then we're going to kind of put like the end of a heart there. Raise it a little bit. And that way it almost looks like it's curled up like that. We're going to do the same thing on this one. Make that a little bit wavy. All right, so we have one flower there. Let's see, so this is a smaller part on the bottom, so we'll probably have, I think we might have 2 little ones underneath here and maybe 2 or 3 at the end. Still debating if I want to have one over here. I think I do. So we'll have one over here. We'll probably go a little bit smaller. And now I'm going to have the curved one on top. Oh, sorry, I forgot the centerpiece. We're going to have that an upside down heart. So it looks like it's folded over. This will have like a skinnier heart. If you have to pause it, rewind, and keep going, do that as much as you absolutely can. I know that I'm from New Jersey, so sometimes I talk very fast, and I've been drawing for a long time. So I know that I go pretty fast. I'm going to try to slow this down as much as I can, but if I do go fast, I apologize. Just pause it, rewind it. That's the nice thing about YouTube. You can watch it as many times as you want. And then I'm going to do this one, where I'm probably going to only have 3 petals, but I think I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. Let's do, almost looks like a little bit of a spade, and we'll have this side turned up a little bit. All right, that looks good. We'll have the branch have an extra piece right there. I think I might have one coming out this way. Let's see. Maybe I don't like the way that looks. I might just leave this branches or little twigs. Okay. So I have to make this a little bit darker because it's harder for me to see. All right, I think I'm going to have one here. And for this one, I think I'm going to have 4 again. So we'll do our heart. One folded over here. And we'll do another one over here, but I think I'm going to aim the petal down. So it kind of looks like it's flapped over the other way. Now this one, I have one twig coming up this way, and I think I'm going to have a flower almost sitting on it. So I'll put that there. Now this one I'm going to have is skinny. I'll have this coming out sideways. And this one. And that way it looks like it's sitting on it. Yeah, I like the way that looks. And usually when it comes to the end, I always like to add a couple extra twigs just in case, just so it doesn't look like there's just random sticks on the end. And this one I think I'm gonna have coming out a little bit more. So it looks like there's extra, so it doesn't just look like there's one random flower. And we'll have one there. And I think I'm gonna do 2 of them over here with another branch sticking out. So we're gonna add another one. We'll add this one, make it look a little bit different. Let's do a wavy petal right there. We'll have this, another one coming up. With another petal flopped over. We'll do another one. That might actually look kind of cool. Oh, I like the way that looks. And then one coming this way. Yeah, I really like the way that looks. So now I don't want to overdo it with this one. So what I'm going to do is when I do paint on wood, I always like to add a little bit of white to the base because sometimes this wood likes to soak it up a bit, even if I did spray it with polyurethane to try to seal it. So I am going to grab a paper plate because that's what I like to use for my palette. And when it comes to painting, a lot of people always make this mistake. They paint way too much paint. So instead of doing that, I always say to put like a dime size and at the most a quarter. But since this one is small, I'm going to do about a dime. We're going to put it on the side. When it comes to acrylic dries very quickly and it kind of gets this like gunky feeling. And when you start painting, you'll see what I'm saying. It's a little hard to explain, and it gets to the point where it's hard to paint with. So the easiest thing to do is to put fresh paint on your palette, and then you'll see a big difference. It's just fresher. It's just works better with you. It's just a lot better. So now I'm going to take my white and I'm going to go over everything that I just did. And I'm going to get that base coat. And this is where you're really going to see your drawing come to life. And after you do this, this is when I always, sit back and take a look at it and say, okay, am I happy with the way this looks? Do I want to add any more flowers? Do I want to add any more branches? Does any of my branches look, a little out of place? Do I need more? But when it comes to wood, you always want to make sure that you don't add too much, because you can't really erase it on this. If you're doing this on a canvas, it's very easy. If you mess up, don't worry about it, because you can always go over it later. But when it comes to wood, you kind of can't. So this part, because it's a little skinny, instead of buying the really skinny brushes because they always fray and it never works, if you go on Amazon, there are eyeliner brushes, and these are very tiny and they're disposable, and they are great because they don't fray, and once they do, you just throw them out and they're like probably 5 cents. So I'll use this just to get my sharp corners. Okay. Now I always try, I'm a righty, and this does also work for lefties as well. Always watch where you're painting first, because I always go from top to bottom, because I always put my hand on here. If I went from bottom up, I wouldn't be able to put my hand, because then my hand will go in the wet paint and then it will start touching everything else. So you always have to be aware of where paint is, how dry it is, and if you're touching something else. Because if that does happen, then you have to figure out, am I going to put an extra branch there to cover this spot up? Do I have to, put another flower in because it's a big smudge, and it becomes a hassle. So I'm not sure if I want to go as thick as I did, so I'm going to go a little bit smaller. But you can see already that my white paint is kind of being soaked up by the wood already. That's a good thing because then this paint will actually really seal it. And I always remember when it comes to branches, branches are, you know, naturally wavy. So if don't try to paint with perfect lines. Otherwise it's not gonna look real. Okay. Oh, I got one more branch to do. Okay, now I usually want to go over my flowers one more time because my flowers are white. So if it is fully dry, which mine is very close, I'm going to put that second coat on the branches so you don't have to really worry about it because we're going to go over them with brown and white and black. And I'm going to teach you how to shade the tree so make it look like it is 3D. This is where if part of your painting is wet, always mind where you put your hand. Okay, so now that while that is drying, I am going to put the first coat of brown. So I'm just going to do any regular brown. It could be the dark one or light one. I'm going to pick the light one. I'm not even going to rinse my brush off. I'm just going to leave the white because it doesn't matter at this point. So I'm going to go and I'm going to add the brown and go through the entire thing. So up higher, I think I'm going to add another just branch or two, just to, so it doesn't just look like antennas. And always try to make them different lengths. That also helps it as well with looking more natural. Like that. Now, if you don't like one of my branches or the placement in it, the nice thing is it's your painting. You can change it how you want it. You can make something longer or shorter, whatever you think looks the best. My stuff and my paintings teaching you, this is just it's just teaching you how to do it and the basics so you can grow from there. That's the nice thing about being an artist is you can make something completely your own. Get the idea from somebody, make it completely your own. Okay. Let me put another brown up here. So while this dries, I'm just going to go over an idea of just a technique. Just going to clean up my brushes and I'm going to explain how we're going to do shadowing. Now, a lot of people get very scared about shadowing. Don't, it really isn't that big of a deal. So what I usually do is I will think about where I want to put my sun. And just on habit, I always put it in the top left corner, which is right here for me. So if you're having trouble with this concept, one of the best things you could do is get a lamp and get an object. Doesn't matter what it is. And you want to put the lamp here on the object, and you're going to see where the light hits. So let's say that my lamp is over here, then the light is going this way. So if I have an object here, I'm going to have shadow on the bottom in this way because the light is going this way. So when I have the light going this way, the tops of my branches are all going to be a lighter color and the bottoms of my branches are all going to be a darker color. By having a lighter top and a darker bottom, that gives it that, and then blending in between, that gives it the 3D curve. And that will make things pop out and look more 3D rather than two-dimensional. If it's just one color, then it's going to look flat. So that's where we're going to add a little bit of the dark brown. And we're going to add a little bit of the black. And notice again how much paint I'm actually putting on my palette. There really isn't that much. And look how much I was able to do, and look how much paint is still left there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tiny bit of black and I'm just going to pretty much draw almost a line on the bottom. And now when it comes to blending, you want to kind of make sure that your colors are, your paint is still wet. I'm going to take my middle color and I'm going to add the brown here. And you're going to see, because I didn't wipe off my paintbrush in the water, the black is still on there, but you can see that the colors are mixing on my my canvas. I'm a big fan of blending while on here and not in the not on my paper plate, because I don't want to be able to make the perfect color and then I can't recreate it because I didn't measure how much paint I put in. Now I'm going to put my lighter color right towards the top. And you can see, because it's wet, I'm like blurring where the lines are. And I'm going to take a little bit of white, but barely any white, and the brown, and I'm going to do the top part. I need a little bit more brown than that. Now you can kind of see the top part is lighter, the bottom part is darker. And then a lot of times I like to go back and I like to add streaks because I don't want it to be a flat color. I want it to have like that rough kind of bark. So I'm going to go in. This might be a little bit too wet. I might have to wait for it to dry a little bit. And I'm going to add it by doing waviness. So I'm just going to keep going throughout all of my branches. I'm going to do it on the thick part first because I have this paintbrush wet. And I'll take my little paintbrush to do the sides. But you see how I'm kind of doing it kind of rough? That's going to give it that rough look of the bark. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. And I'm gonna take my little paintbrush and do the same. Now, when it comes to here, see how this is straight down? I'm actually gonna put the black on this side because if the light is coming this way, it's gonna hit the front of that. And then it's gonna hit the bottom over here. Now, this is a little bit of a hard concept to understand. So if you have to look at mine and copy it, that's fine. But in the future, if you want to do something on your own and you're having trouble with it, try taking that lamp with that little object. That will help you out. Now you can kind of see that this is starting to dry up a little bit. So I think that's where I'm gonna add some bark texture to it. And when it's wet, it is going to look a little bit more pronounced, but you'll see once it dries, it's going to blend a little bit more. So even if it looks a little weird at first, let it dry, see what it looks like. That's the only way you're going to start noticing how your paint works, and go from there. And then when you're in the corners like this, you always want to try to make a triangle, just like that. You want to put the lighter side on this side. I'm gonna put more highlight at the top. And if you have to make it a little bit lighter, you can just add a little bit of white with a little bit of brown and just do the top part. Very, very, very little. See, even that was a little bit too much, but that's okay because I can wipe it off later. Oh, I forgot this dark spot right underneath here. Okay, I'm just gonna add a little bit of white to this bottom piece, just because I feel like it doesn't have that much other color. Okay, so now that is pretty much done. I might go back and just give it a little bit of highlights later. But since that is done, I'm gonna go back and start adding more white to my flowers. Okay, so now that we added, I think I actually missed the petal. Now that we added almost all the white, this is where we're going to, because everything should be a little bit wet, this is where you want to take your little paintbrush again. And for the dogwood, I'm sorry, we actually need a little bit of red. a little tiny, even just one drop of red on your palette. And we're going to take the tiniest amount and we're going to put it right in the corner. Let's see, what do I want to do with this one? I think this one had a little bit of red. And this one came to a tip. So I'm going to do that. And this one came over. So I'm just going to kind of draw those little bit. And like I said, you barely want any paint on your paintbrush. Might add a little bit of white just to oh, I erased that one a little bit too much. But you kind of just want it to highlight a little bit. You don't want it to be too red. I think this one's a little too red for me. But I'm going to cover this whole thing and we can whiten up some of the areas later. And we don't want to put too much white where it looks pink because it really is red at the end. I just realized I never did anything with that branch. I have to go back and fix that. Okay. So I'm going to go back, and this is a little too pink, so I'm going to put that red right at the end. Okay, so now that is going to look like it's a little bit of a mess at first, but don't worry, because we're going to go back with the white once it's dry, and we're going to cover it up a little bit. So we're going to take the white and we're going to barely touch it. You're going to see that it's pulling some of that paint. Okay, so I'm not sure if I am done with that part yet, but I'm kind of curious what the center is going to look like to see if I need to add any streaks to it just to give it more of a definition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of green, same way what I did a red, the same thing what I did with the red, and put one drop of green and put one drop of yellow. I'm going to take the green, I'm just going to do a couple dots in the center just to give it that little bit of a raised area. And once we go back and we add the yellow is going to make it look like it's 3D because it's going to give it that highlight. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow. I'm just going to see what that looks like on top of it. See if we need to wait. I actually think that looks really good. Okay. So looking back at my flower, I feel like we need a little bit more definition where the petals meet. There's not really a difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tiniest bit of black. I'm going to dip it into my white. I'm going to make a very, very light gray. I'm just going to very, very little draw a line. I'm just going to draw a couple lines like that. And don't worry if your lines are too dark, like some of mine are, we'll go back with the white and we'll go over it. My white is getting a little funky, so I'm just going to add a little bit of new. I'm going to go over it again. And that will blend my colors a little bit too. All right, I'm just gonna take a 5-minute break. Just let this dry so I can come back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think, oh, yep, I definitely need a new paintbrush. My little eyeliner thing just broke. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did over here as I'm going to do here with some of the black lines. So you see how my lines are a little dark? It's because I'm pushing too hard. I have to go much lighter. I'm just going to go back with the white. I'm going to go over everything again. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot. I need to. I think I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to this flower petal because I don't want it to be too much green. I think I want to have a little bit more yellow in there. Because to me, the green looks a little too cartoonish for myself. And oops, I think I'm just gonna have a little bit more. So this is a time to go back and tweak anything you want to tweak, add any highlights to where you want to highlight. A lot of times I've noticed that if I finish a drawing or I finish a painting and I think I'm done with it, I'll walk away and I'll come back. That's when I'll see a lot of my mistakes. I also see a lot of my mistakes if I take a picture of it. And I noticed that by taking a picture of my stuff and going to send it to a family member or friends, and right before I send it, I'm like, oh God, wait, I forgot this or I forgot that. For some reason, and I think it's because you're seeing it as seeing your painting in a different perspective. It's not right in front of you. That's why you see a lot of your flaws or things that you need to tweak. My mother-in-law also paints, and her paintings are on our website. She will hold up her painting to a mirror and look there, and that's where she sees all of her flaws. So there's a couple different ways of doing it. But also, there was one time where there was something wrong with my painting. I did not know what it was, couldn't figure it out. So I actually hung it up on the wall. I hung it up on a wall and I walked past it a couple times. And by like the third day, I realized, oh my God, this one character I had didn't have a shadow. As soon as I added a shadow, it looked perfect. I just knew there was something wrong with it and I couldn't figure out what it was. So if that ever happens to you, where there's something different about your piece, you're like, you know, I'm just not feeling it, there's something wrong about it, hang it up on the wall, walk past it a couple days, just keep looking at it and see if you want to fix it. If you are working with canvas, never throw away canvas. If your painting is so bad, you could always go over it a couple times with a coat of white paint. Make sure in between each layer it's fully dry before you go on to the next step. And then you can reuse your canvas, especially if you're practicing. Other than that, I think we have gone over everything. I really hope that you like my YouTube video. I hope that you were able to learn stuff. We do have other classes on our YouTube channel. It's called Mix Match Creations. If I would really like if you liked or commented below what your thoughts were on our class. Also, if you do like our work with our engraving and you want something to paint on, or if you just want something, you could always go to our website. All of our stuff is there. We'll be coming out with new stuff every week. And we also are on Facebook. I would love for you to follow us there. So I hope you enjoyed this and I really appreciate you joining me. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Bye.